Yo, what is going on YouTube? It is your boy GZTV. Once again, we are back with another U review. This is the second episode of Season 3. We're kind of progressing our way through the season pretty swiftly here. This is a pretty interesting episode. They go to couples therapy, like Love suggested they do on that phone call, and things get pretty interesting. There's a lot of different cuts. There's a lot of different scenes, them discussing their problems. It's a cool dynamic. So we're just going to kind of have a big old discussion. So, yeah. I mean, I'm always fascinated by what couples do and don't know. There's a really weird line there with couples, especially on TV shows. Of course, you can never fully know another person, and no amount of questioning can change that fact, but you'd think by the time a couple gets married, they'd make sure to cover some crucial basics, like, we need to know these things about each other. But, like, this is such a confusing couple, this is such a complicated situation. For instance, Joe has no idea how Love dealt with Delilah and Candace's bodies. Doesn't that seem like something they would have talked about, especially since they both kill people? Isn't the idea that Joe is safer not knowing mitigated by the fact that they are now married and can't be compelled to testify against each other? You're supposed to tell each other the truth. This is the whole point of vows. Like, you gotta tell me what you did. It's not like, oh, it's safer, like, if you don't know. That's kind of toxic, really, don't you think? Here's another thing. If Love has already dealt with 2 dead bodies, single-handedly and in rapid succession, why is she so out of her depth here trying to handle just one measly corpse? That doesn't really make sense. I feel like that's kind of a plot inconsistency. Unless she didn't deal with them all by herself. Do we think Glamaw, let's pretend this murder of the sexually abusive Alapar was just a suicide by throat-slitting Dottie, lent a manicured hand? That would go a long way towards explaining why Love is allowing Dottie, who I thought she essentially hated, to be so present in her life. I mean, you're rich, you don't need free childcare. And also why she hasn't told Joe, who would be extremely not cool with it. So, Joe and Love are in couples therapy, and it's got strong, we're going for the series premiere of The Sopranos energy, with the cutting back and forth between their euphemistic description of their woes. Love broke a vase because sometimes I get passionate, and what actually happened? Axe murder. It's really cool. I really like this whole dynamic, flipping between therapy sessions and, real life. And if the show ends up formatting itself like The Sopranos, I'm fucking here for it, because I absolutely loved The Sopranos. That's one of my favorite shows of all time. So Joe brings Henry to the murder scene, and look, I don't like to be Team Joe, but what was he supposed to do? Get a last-minute babysitter? How would he have explained why he needed to be out by himself at that hour? Yeah, I mean, obviously at first when you're seeing this, it's like, what the fuck, Joe? Why would you bring your kid to a damn murder scene? But it's very funny that Love scrambles for the moral high ground at every turn amid this shit show she's made. Every time Joe tries to shout at her, she's all, don't wake the baby. And how she tries to spin being bad at getting away with murder like it's a good thing because it proves she didn't plan it like some psychopath. I mean, if you're going to be a murderer, isn't it better to have a plan? Like, if you're actually going to go kill someone, like, Joe kind of has a fucking point there. You need to fucking plan it. If you are intentionally killing someone, now I get if you have to kill someone out of self-defense, I get if you have to kill someone in the heat of the moment, I guess, like, with Candace, but, like, Delilah, she planned on this. She planned to kill her. Like, what the hell? But, this is not her first rodeo, people. It is her 4th rodeo. For everybody keeping score at home. I'm keeping score. Penn Badgley's delivery of "you signed a lease for our crime scene" is fucking awesome. I loved that. That was one of my favorite scenes of this episode. Perhaps contradicting what I just said, like premeditation being the way to go, homicide-wise, it's not disconcerting how well Joe operates under this particular pressure and how quickly he arrives at a solution for this conundrum. Take Natalie's body to a state forest half an hour out, bury her in the woods. It's all very like Pine Barrens. And this entire episode laced with Sopranos references just for a Sopranos fan like me? I mean, holy cow. And, plant a false trail using her phone and some carefully timed text. I'm enjoying how disgusted Love and Joe are with each other when they are both so awful. Joe believes each time he's killed someone he's done so as part of some chivalric quest in the pursuit of true love. Therefore, he's not a real murderer, unlike Love, who he deems a psycho. Meanwhile, Love believes only a psycho would be able to so methodically off so many people, and that's only the people she knows about, whereas she, a healthy non-murderer, just gets impulsive sometimes because she's so protective. This isn't me, though, Joe says to himself as he buries yet another woman in the woods. He decides that when he's done cleaning up after Love, he will take Henry and run. I see Joe does not understand that this would empower Love to file kidnapping charges and sue for full custody. I feel like if you're going to do this thing where you break a million laws, you should maybe study the laws or at least skim them. The best part of the stretch is that Joe discovers via Natalie's phone that she referred to him as the boring neighbor in a text casually deliberating whether or not she'd sleep with him. It's kind of a funny little thing, like, oh, she just kind of wants to fuck him for fun. Like, whatever. But while Joe takes care of Natalie, Love leaves Henry with Grandma, who is rightly worried that Love is having another one of those episodes. Apparently, Love signed this lease assuming her mom would help her out with it, without talking to her mom first. I mean, Quinn family finances are in flux right now. Also, wouldn't there have been a more thoroughly vetting process before the Love could sign said 3-year lease? Don't you have to ask for where your finances come from if you can do that? Then Love goes to the grocery store where she is hit on in the parking lot by a suspiciously cute teen named Theo. AKA, we find out later it's Natalie's husband's stepson from his first marriage, though Love doesn't know this yet. And it's a pretty crazy revelation later on in the episode. So, in therapy, Love says that she is struggling with new parenthood because Joe is emotionally checked out. The therapist tells Love to stop saying we because we is codependence masquerading as love. Which, quite funny. Wait till you find out about 40. Love hates that everyone accuses her of being impulsive and nobody gets her. Joe admits that the only reason he is still in this marriage is for his son, who he does not actually like, because he wanted a girl. I mean, couples therapy is bananas. Like, imagine if the person you were talking shit about in therapy could interrupt and tell their version of the story. Like, I would probably curl up in a ball and die. Like, the therapist gives them a reflective listening exercise as homework. How funny. But Joe goes to the library to steal a rare book and plant the seed that he will get a job there tending to these aged volumes. Honestly, all the library stuff is super boring. Marianne is really an illustrator. She has big dreams in this small life. But Tati Gabriel is a cool actress, and maybe as the season unfolds, we can get some more interesting stuff there with that storyline. So, time for Andrew and Jackson's kid's birthday party. Joe, the only thing worse than a party is a rich kid's party. I agree. Of course, even the supposedly so progressive Bay Area parents have the most gender-normative setup at these events, where all the wives cluster around food prep and all the men talk about ejaculating and doing light construction. Love baked cupcakes that no one will eat. Sherry's kids bust into them, and Sherry throws a fit about their sugar levels. They're not allowed to eat fruit. Okay, they're not real fucking fruit. It's fucking flavored cupcakes. Seriously. Like, what is wrong with you? Joe learns that Matthew made these vital rings that reportedly report real-time data on your blood sugar levels and other, vitals, and we all wear them, which means Natalie was wearing one when her vitals went kaput. So that was an interesting kind of revelation. That was kind of an interesting situation that we learned about through, them being at this party. So, off Love and Joe go to dig up the body. Is now a good time to note that this episode is 51 minutes long? And they fight the whole way, and I have to say, it's almost as boring watching them bicker as it was watching them go through those zombie motions of parenting drudgery. Like, Natalie's unearthed body is toothless, which freaks out Love, which I guess means she didn't remove Candace or Delilah's teeth. Probably won't be a problem. Joe has to break Natalie's finger to get the ring off. That's pretty interesting. It's pretty gruesome content, but obviously I'm pretty accustomed to that, given that I am a horror movie reviewer. Pretty on the body horror, I guess. Dexter was pretty bad too. So, on the way home, they stop by the spot on the edge of town where cement is being poured, and Joe says they can stash Natalie's body in the foundation and no one will ever find her. Love is a little edgy about how Joe just had all these ideas about where to dump bodies. Okay, but you do need to dump a body. I just feel like now is not the time to complain about this. It's a feature, not a bug. Anyway, she shrieks into the night, "Why don't you love me anymore?" and points out that Joe would have killed her if she hadn't been pregnant. They're both very afraid that the other might kill them for the crime of not being 100% obsessed with you all the time. Good thing we're going back to therapy. The therapist says that intensity is a good sign because she thinks all this stuff about being crazy and I want to kill you is a metaphor. It's fucking not. She gets Joe to see that beneath his violence is fear that they will abandon him if someone sees the real him. This is hilarious because the violence is the real Joe, and in fact, the reason people leave him is that they don't want to get murdered. Then comes something that did not land for me. Love has an identical revelation that she too fears being seen because she thinks anyone who gets close to her will abandon her. I mean, does that track with anything we've learned about her so far? Her and 40's lives were totally entwined. Her mom is still all up in her shit. She has never had space from anybody who cares about her. So how... Everyone knows the fucking real her damn near. Like, also, I am not convinced her husband died of natural causes. Just for your information, I'm going to continue to remind you guys about that because that's still something that has potential to build up. So, the therapist is thrilled that these two, alone, people realize they're terrified of being alone. These are full psycho killers who should be kept in solitary. Then she introduces the revelatory concept that Joe and Love are a team fighting for the same thing, which is totally true, really. Is that thing just a fuck ton of manslaughters? Yes, but it's enough to make Joe decide he is suddenly in love with Love again, who is radiantly maternal and down for primal sex. The parenting montages are warmly lit now. Nothing says happiness like the Valencia filter. They both say, "I would absolutely kill for you" to each other, and this is not the problem. We already knew this about both of you. Like, what? They promise to try not to make the other person do more murders, but the season is young, so I think we all know that promise will be as broken as Natalie's finger. Love opens her bakery, Joe gets a library job, the police pull up at Matt and Natalie's place, everything kind of closes out in the end. Joe and Love need a safe space, so naturally they build their human aquarium in the bakery's basement. They each hide a key inside without telling the other. I'm not sure how they expect this to help them not wind up in a situation where they have captives who they'll have to kill. Excited to see how they spin this one to their therapist, I would like to see this whole therapy thing, this whole trope kind of return. I might watch episode 3 on Thursday and review it Friday if I have nothing to cover. If music comes out, I will, but if not, we will continue to watch this show because I don't think we need week breaks in between. So, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. As always, it has been your boy GZTV. Back with another season or episode review. Again, these are kind of my low effort videos. I kind of just make one big chunk discussing these. Movies is where I give out my true thoughts. So, yeah, it's a pretty fun show to watch. I'm out, guys.